traveling back 2,000 years to walk through marble palaces where Cleopatra, Egypt's last and most brilliant pharaoh, once ruled. Let her story carry you into the deepest, most peaceful sleep you've had in weeks. Get comfortable, and let's begin this journey together. Now close your eyes and imagine standing in the most magnificent city the ancient world had ever seen. I'm so glad you're here with me tonight, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is as you settle into comfort. Take a deep breath with me now and let it go slowly. Feel your body sinking deeper into your bed, your muscles releasing tension with each gentle exhale. We travel not just through space, but through time itself, to the golden age of ancient Egypt. Our journey will take us to 6 extraordinary places where Cleopatra lived, ruled, and shaped history. We'll walk through marble halls where she made decisions that changed the world. We'll stand on shores where her ships once sailed. We'll breathe the same air that carried the sounds of the most magnificent city of the ancient world. There's no rush tonight. We have all the time we need. Let your breathing slow naturally as we begin our first gentle steps into the past. We begin our journey in Alexandria, the jewel of the Mediterranean, as the sun rises over the harbor. The year is 51 BCL, and you're walking through the palace complex where 18-year-old Cleopatra has just become pharaoh. Feel the cool marble beneath your feet as we enter through the grand portico. The palace isn't just one building, but an entire complex that sprawls along the waterfront. Gardens cascade down terraces, their lotus pools reflecting the morning light. Palm trees sway gently in the Mediterranean breeze, their fronds whispering ancient secrets. Let's pause here in the great atrium. Look up. The ceiling soars above us, painted with stars and celestial patterns in gold and deep blue. Sunlight streams through high windows, creating pools of warmth on the polished floor. You can almost hear the soft footsteps of scribes hurrying past with scrolls, their papyrus rustling like dry leaves. This is where Cleopatra spent her mornings, meeting with advisors in rooms lined with maps of the known world. Breathe in slowly. Can you smell it? Frankincense burning in bronze braziers, mixing with the salt air from the harbor below, the scent of Egyptian perfumes, myrrh and lotus, drifting through the corridors. Walk with me now through the administrative wing, where the business of governing Egypt unfolded daily. The rooms here are filled with the quiet industry of the empire, soft voices discussing grain shipments, trade agreements, diplomatic correspondence. Cleopatra would sit at a cedar desk, speaking to officials in their own languages, Greek to the scholars, Egyptian to the priests, Hebrew to the merchants from Judea. Let's step onto the balcony now, where she stood so many times, gazing out at her kingdom. The view takes your breath away gently, softly. Below us, Alexandria spreads like a dream. The great harbor curves in a perfect arc, filled with hundreds of ships, merchant vessels from Rhodes, grain ships bound for Rome, sleek Egyptian galleys with their painted eyes watching over the waves. And there, rising from the harbor entrance, stands the Lighthouse of Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Even from here, its white marble seems to glow in the morning sun. At night, its beacon fire would guide sailors home. a star brought down to earth. Feel the breeze on your face, warm and gentle. This same wind filled Cleopatra's sails when she traveled, carried the scent of spices from the markets below, and brought news from across the Mediterranean. Rest here for a moment, letting the peaceful rhythm of the ancient harbor lull you deeper into tranquility. The palace library is nearby, a smaller version of the Great Library, but still magnificent. Imagine walking through rooms lined with wooden shelves, each holding hundreds of scrolls. This is where young Cleopatra spent countless hours studying philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, and the histories of all the kingdoms she would one day navigate as a ruler. The evening light would filter through high windows, turning the papyrus scrolls golden. She would sit on cushioned benches, reading by oil lamp, her mind absorbing the wisdom of Aristotle and Plato, learning the strategies that would help her survive in a world of powerful men and dangerous politics. Let yourself drift now, imagining the quiet rustle of scrolls being unfurled, the scratch of reed pens on papyrus, the peaceful concentration of learning. This is where power was truly born, not in battles, but in knowledge, in understanding, in the patient accumulation of wisdom. As twilight falls over the palace, we leave this place of marble and learning, carrying with us the sense of Cleopatra's brilliant mind at work, planning, dreaming, preparing for the extraordinary life that awaited her. Our second stop takes us to the most legendary center of learning the ancient world ever knew, the Great Library of Alexandria. As we drift toward this magnificent building, let your breathing slow even more. There's no hurry. We have all the time in eternity. The library sits near the palace complex, its facade decorated with columns that seem to hold up the sky itself. As we approach, the late afternoon sun casts long, peaceful shadows across the courtyard. Scholars in simple robes walk slowly between buildings, their minds full of questions and discoveries. Step inside with me now, through doors that welcome the greatest minds of the ancient world. The main hall opens before us like a cathedral of knowledge. The ceiling is high and cool, supported by painted columns. And everywhere are scrolls. They line the walls in honeycomb shelves, organized by subject and author, mathematics and astronomy, medicine and philosophy, poetry from Homer, treatises by Euclid, medical texts from Egypt and beyond. Over 500,000 scrolls, representing every piece of knowledge humanity had gathered by Cleopatra's time. Let's walk slowly down the central aisle. Your footsteps echo softly on the stone floor. The air here smells of old papyrus, lamp oil, and the indefinable scent of learning itself. Dust motes dance in shafts of sunlight, moving like thoughts themselves, slow, purposeful, full of light. This is where Cleopatra came to truly educate herself. Unlike other rulers of her dynasty, she didn't just speak Greek. She mastered Egyptian and eventually became fluent in 9 languages. She would sit in these study rooms with linguists and scholars, learning not just words, but entire ways of thinking. Find a comfortable reading room with me now. Soft cushions line low benches, Windows overlook a quiet garden where a fountain trickles peacefully. Imagine sitting here as Cleopatra once did, a scroll unrolled before you, the afternoon stretching ahead with nothing but time to learn, to grow, to understand. The scholars here treated her with respect unusual for a woman of any rank in the ancient world. They recognized her brilliant mind, her genuine curiosity, her ability to grasp complex mathematical concepts and philosophical arguments. She debated with them as an equal, discussing the nature of governance, the movement of stars, the properties of matter. Listen, can you hear it? The quiet murmur of discussion from nearby rooms, the scratch of pens copying precious texts, the soft thud of scrolls being returned to their places. This is the sound of human knowledge being preserved, shared, expanded. A sound as soothing as rain on leaves. Let's visit the map room now, walking slowly through corridors that connect the various buildings of the library complex. Here, on papyrus and treated leather, cartographers had drawn the known world. Cleopatra would study these maps for hours, understanding trade routes, military positions, and the relationships between kingdoms. See the Mediterranean spread before us, with Egypt at its heart. Alexandria sits at the crossroads of 3 continents, Africa below, Asia to the east, Europe to the north. From this central position, Cleopatra would build her strategy for survival and success. As evening approaches, oil lamps are lit throughout the library. Their gentle flame creates pools of warm light and shadows that dance peacefully on the walls. Scholars settle into their evening work, and the building takes on an even more tranquil atmosphere. The library represents what Cleopatra valued most, not military might alone, but the power of understanding, the ability to speak to anyone in their own tongue, the wisdom to learn from every culture, the patience to study and prepare before acting. Let this peaceful place of learning settle into your consciousness as we slowly drift toward our next destination. The library's quiet wisdom travels with us, helping us understand the brilliant mind that would rule Egypt through its most challenging era. We travel now up the Nile, drifting south from Alexandria on the river's gentle current. Let the motion of our boat rock you softly, the rhythm of the oars on water steady and hypnotic. We're journeying to one of the most sacred places in ancient Egypt, the Temple of Isis at Philae. The Nile here is wide and peaceful. Palm trees line the banks, their reflections wavering in the bronze water of late afternoon. Fishermen in small boats cast their nets with the same motions their ancestors used for thousands of years. The river is life itself in Egypt, and as we drift along its current, feel yourself sinking deeper into perfect relaxation. There, ahead, an island emerges from the river like a jewel. Philae, the pearl of Egypt, sacred to Isis, the goddess who represented all that was divine in the feminine. The temple complex rises from the island's center, its pylons and colonnades honey-colored in the setting sun. As we approach the landing, the sound of the river lapping against stone is endlessly soothing. Water and ancient stone together for millennia, creating a rhythm older than memory. Step onto the island now, your feet finding the warm stone of the key. The temple path leads us through a colonnade, double rows of columns covered in hieroglyphs and carved images. Walk slowly between these columns, trailing your fingers along the stone if you wish. Each carving tells a story, and the stone itself seems to hold the prayers of countless generations. Cleopatra came here to establish her legitimacy as pharaoh. The Ptolemaic dynasty was Greek, not Egyptian, and she knew that to truly rule Egypt, she needed the blessing of Egypt's gods and the recognition of Egypt's priests. She was the first of her dynasty to fully embrace Egyptian religion and language. We enter the temple proper now, passing through massive doors into a space that feels timeless. The hypostyle hall rises around us, its columns painted in colors that have faded to gentle pastels. Blues like the Nile at dawn, golds like desert sand, reds like sunset. The light here is soft, filtered through high windows. It falls in shafts that seem almost solid, filled with incense smoke that drifts lazily upward. The air is cool and carries the scent of lotus flowers from offerings left at various shrines. This is where Cleopatra participated in the sacred rituals that connected her to 3,000 years of pharaonic tradition. She would wear the regalia of Egyptian royalty, the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt, the crook and flail, the false beard of kingship. She would speak the ancient liturgies in perfect Egyptian, words that had been spoken in this place since long before the pyramids were old. Move deeper into the temple with me, to the sanctuary of Isis herself. The chamber is intimate, almost womb-like in its sense of enclosure and safety. A statue of the goddess stands here, and even now in our imagination, her presence feels real. Isis, protector of the people, healer, mother, source of divine wisdom. Sit for a moment in this sacred space. Let the absolute peace of this ancient sanctuary wash over you. For thousands of years, people came here seeking comfort, guidance, and healing. The stone walls have absorbed countless prayers, and they seem to radiate a deep, gentle calm. Cleopatra understood something profound that helped her rule effectively. She understood that power was not just military or economic, but spiritual and cultural. By honoring Egyptian traditions, by speaking Egyptian to her subjects, by participating genuinely in their religious life, she became not just a foreign ruler, but truly the last pharaoh. Outside the sanctuary, priests would have moved through their duties with practiced serenity. The evening rituals would begin soon. Incense burned, hymns sung, offerings made. The rhythm of temple life was as steady and reliable as the Nile's flood, giving structure and meaning to the passage of time. Let's walk through the outer courts now as the sun begins to set. The temple complex is built on different levels, connected by stairs and platforms that create a sense of ascending toward the sacred. Water from the Nile surrounds the island, and the sound of it creates an endless, soothing background to contemplation. Find a quiet spot on the temple's outer terrace. Sit on the warm stone, facing west as the sun descends toward the desert horizon. The sky turns gold, then orange, then that particular shade of purple that seems to exist only in Egypt. The Nile reflects every color, becoming a river of liquid light. This is the Egypt that Cleopatra loved, not just the political entity she had to defend, but the ancient mystical land of temples and traditions, of the Nile's gift and the desert's stark beauty. She fought so fiercely not just for power, but to preserve the civilization that had flourished for 3 millennia. As darkness falls gently over Philae and the first stars appear above the temple pylons, we carry this sense of sacred peace with us, the eternal calm of the Nile, the patient endurance of stone, the quiet confidence of a culture that had survived and thrived for longer than most civilizations would even exist. We journey now across the Mediterranean, drifting west and north to the coast of Asia Minor, to the city of Tarsus. The year is 41 BCE, and we're about to witness one of history's most famous meetings, Cleopatra's arrival to meet Mark Antony. Let the motion of the waves carry you. We're aboard a merchant vessel, riding the gentle swells of a calm Mediterranean evening. The water is that deep, peaceful blue that seems to hold all the sky's light. Seabirds circle lazily overhead, and the splash of dolphins occasionally breaks the soothing rhythm of the waves. Tarsus sits on a river that flows into the Mediterranean, a wealthy trading city where Eastern goods flow west and Roman power extends east. As our ship approaches the mouth of the river, we can see the city rising on low hills inland, its buildings white and honey-colored in the late afternoon sun. But wait. Look ahead now at what's coming up the river toward Tarsus. Even from here, you can see something extraordinary. A ship unlike any the Mediterranean has ever seen, moving slowly upstream, its oars keeping perfect time. Let's draw closer, letting our imagination take us alongside this magnificent vessel. The royal barge of Egypt makes every other ship in these waters look plain. Its hull is decorated with gold that catches the sunlight. Purple sails, the color of royalty, more precious than gold itself, billow gently in the breeze. Listen, can you hear it? Music drifts across the water, Egyptian flutes and lyres playing melodies that seem to make the very air shimmer. The sound is exotic, mysterious, impossibly beautiful. It draws crowds to the riverbanks, people abandoning their daily tasks to watch this wonder glide past. Let's imagine ourselves on the shore now, among the gathering crowds in Tarsus. Everyone has heard that the Queen of Egypt is coming, but no one expected this. The barge moves like a dream, and as it draws nearer, you can see the incredible details that make it seem almost supernatural. The oars are covered in silver that flashes with each stroke. The rowers move in perfect unison, as if one person is controlling 100 oars. Attendants on deck wear garments of the finest linen, in colors that must have cost fortunes. Deep purples, brilliant whites, golds that seem to glow. And there, beneath a canopy of cloth of gold, reclines Cleopatra herself. Even from the shore, her presence is magnetic. She's arranged this entire spectacle with careful intention, not mere vanity, but strategic theater. She needs Antony to see her as an equal, as a ruler whose power and sophistication match his own. barge pulls alongside the quay, and the scene that unfolds is like something from a dream. Attendants lower the gangway. Incense burners release clouds of frankincense and myrrh that drift across the harbor. The scent is intoxicating, exotic, suggesting mysteries and luxuries beyond Roman experience. Let yourself drift with that incense smoke now, feeling it curl around you like silk. Breathe it in slowly and release it. Each breath takes you deeper into this ancient moment, deeper into relaxation, deeper into the peace of surrendered consciousness. Cleopatra's arrival at Tarsus wasn't just about impressing Antony personally, though she did that successfully. It was about demonstrating Egypt's wealth, sophistication, and power. She was saying without words, I am not a subordinate seeking favor, but a sovereign offering alliance. Walk with me now through the streets of Tarsus as evening falls. The entire city is alive with excitement about the Egyptian queen's arrival. In the marketplace, merchants display Egyptian goods, fine linens, precious stones, exotic spices. The air is full of speculation and wonder. Find a quiet courtyard where we can rest for a moment, away from the crowds. A fountain plays at the center, its water catching the last light of day. Olive trees provide shade, and the evening air is warm and gentle. Sit on a marble bench, letting the day's excitement settle into peaceful observation. From somewhere nearby, you can still hear the Egyptian music from the queen's barge, now moored at the official quay. The melody is hypnotic, rising and falling like the breath of the sea itself. Let it wrap around you, each note a step down into deeper rest. This meeting at Tarsus would forge an alliance that would reshape the ancient world. But more than that, it demonstrated Cleopatra's understanding of power as theater, of politics as perception. She knew that arriving humbly might gain Antony's patronage, but arriving magnificently might gain her his partnership. The sophistication of that understanding, the careful preparation, the attention to every detail, from the music to the incense to the timing of her arrival at sunset, when the light would be most flattering, shows a mind that thought several moves ahead, that understood human psychology, that knew how to achieve objectives through wisdom rather than just force. As night falls over Tarsus and the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, let this scene fade gently from your mind. The music grows softer, more distant. The crowds disperse to their homes. The harbor settles into the quiet rhythm of night. Water lapping at hulls, the creak of mooring ropes, the distant call of a night bird. Carry with you the sense of Cleopatra's strategic brilliance, her understanding that sometimes the most powerful statement is made not with swords, but with beauty, culture, and carefully orchestrated spectacle. We move now forward in time to 31 BCE and to a place of great tension that will resolve into peace. Don't worry, we're not here to witness violence, but to understand a moment when history turned and to find calm even in the memory of chaos. The waters off Actium on the western coast of Greece are beautiful in a stark way. The Ionian Sea stretches in all directions, deep blue and dotted with small islands. The coastline is rocky, with hills rising behind the beaches, covered in the gray-green of olive trees and Mediterranean scrub. We're here at dawn, before the battle that would end the Roman civil wars. The sea is glassy calm, almost breathless, as if the world itself is holding still, waiting. Mist rises from the water in delicate veils, and the light is pearl gray, soft and dreamlike. Two vast fleets face each other across several miles of open water. On one side, Octavian's Roman ships, efficient, practical, built for ramming and boarding. On the other hand, the combined forces of Antony and Cleopatra, more diverse, including Egyptian vessels with their distinctive designs and Eastern ships using tactics Rome has rarely encountered. Let's not focus on the battle itself, but on the human moments before it begins. On the deck of Cleopatra's flagship, imagine the scene. Sailors make their final preparations with practiced calm. Officers speak in low tones, checking equipment, positioning forces. The Egyptian crew moves with quiet competence, their motions economical and sure. Cleopatra stands at the stern, looking out at the opposing fleet. She's 40 years old now, has ruled Egypt for 20 years, has survived palace coups, civil wars, political intrigues that would have destroyed lesser rulers. Whatever happens today, she has already achieved something remarkable. She has kept Egypt independent in an age when every other Eastern kingdom has fallen under direct Roman control. Feel the gentle motion of the ship beneath your feet. The water beneath is dark and deep, ancient as time itself. Each wave that passes is a moment of history, a heartbeat in the long life of the Mediterranean. Let that gentle rocking motion relax you more deeply, as ships have rocked sailors to sleep for thousands of years. The air smells of salt and pitch, of the sea itself. It's cool but not cold, the kind of fresh air that clears the mind. Breathe it deeply, letting it fill your lungs with the breath of history, with the wind that has blown across these waters since ships first sailed them. What would Cleopatra have been thinking at this moment? Perhaps of her children, safe in Alexandria. Perhaps of the long journey that brought her from that frightened teenager fleeing the palace to this, commanding fleets in battles that would determine the fate of civilization. As the sun rises, burning away the mist, a decision is made. Rather than engage in a battle where her forces might be destroyed, Cleopatra will order her ships to break through the Roman line and escape to the south to preserve her forces and live to negotiate another day. Some historians have called this retreat, but perhaps it was the final act of strategic genius from a ruler who had always understood that survival was victory. She had kept Egypt independent against impossible odds for 2 decades. And even in this moment of apparent defeat, she was ensuring that Egypt would survive, that her children would inherit something, that the game was not over. Let's follow her squadron now as it turns, hoists sail, and drives south through the Roman fleet. The wind fills the purple sails, the oars beat steadily, and the flagship cleaves through the blue water with purpose and grace. Behind them, the battle continues, but we're moving away from it now, toward calmer waters. The coast of Greece recedes, The open Mediterranean embraces us. The sun climbs higher, and the day becomes beautiful. Clear skies, gentle wind, the eternal peace of the sea. This is what Cleopatra preserved. Not victory in battle, but the possibility of tomorrow. The chance for Egypt to endure. The hope that wisdom might yet find a way forward. Let the motion of the ship carry you now into deeper rest. The battle is behind us, fading into history. Ahead lies only the open sea, limitless and free. The creak of rigging, the splash of the bow wave, the cry of seabirds followed in our wake. These sounds become a lullaby, ancient and endlessly soothing. We return now to where we began, Alexandria, the city of Cleopatra's greatest triumphs and final tragedy. But we come here not to dwell on endings, but to understand the peace she found at the end and the legacy she left behind. It's August in 30 BCE. Octavian's forces are approaching Alexandria, and Cleopatra knows that her long struggle to keep Egypt independent is ending. But in the royal mausoleum she has built, part tomb, part temple, part treasure house, she finds a strange kind of peace. The building stands near the palace, constructed of white marble that glows in the afternoon sun. Let's enter through tall bronze doors, stepping from the bright Egyptian day into a cool, peaceful shadow. The interior is simple but elegant. High ceilings, light filtering through narrow windows, the scent of incense. Here, Cleopatra has gathered the treasures of Egypt, not to hoard them, but to protect them. Gold statues of the gods, sacred scrolls, jewels that have belonged to pharaohs for generations. They're arranged almost like a museum, each piece in its proper place, labeled and organized. Even now, she approaches the task with the methodical intelligence that characterized her entire reign. There's a couch here, soft cushions and royal purple. Sit with me for a moment, imagining this space in the gentle afternoon light. Despite everything, it's peaceful. The thick stone walls shut out the noise of the city, the worry of approaching armies, the chaos of the empire's end. What did Cleopatra feel in these final days? Certainly sadness and loss, but perhaps also a sense of completion. She had ruled longer than most pharaohs. She had kept Egypt independent through decades when that seemed impossible. She had raised children who would carry both Egyptian and Roman blood into whatever future awaited. She had been many things: scholar and linguist, diplomat and military commander, mother and lover, politician and strategist. She had spoken 9 languages and commanded fleets. She had negotiated with the most powerful men of her age and made them treat her as an equal. Let yourself rest deeply now in this quiet space where one of history's most remarkable lives came to its close. The stone walls hold no judgment, only patience. The filtered light suggests dawn as much as sunset. Every ending is also a beginning. Every last breath prepares for transformation. Outside these walls, Alexandria continues its eternal rhythms. The harbor fills and empties with tides. The lighthouse beam sweeps across the water. The library scholars pursue their quiet work. Life goes on, as it always does, flowing like the Nile itself, sometimes flooding, sometimes receding, but always moving forward. Cleopatra's legacy would be complex. Roman propaganda would paint her as a seductress, a foreign temptress who corrupted noble Romans. But history would eventually recognize what she truly was, a brilliant ruler who used every tool available to preserve her kingdom's independence in an age of empire. She spoke to people in their own languages, literally and figuratively. She understood Greek philosophy and Egyptian religion, Roman military tactics, and Eastern diplomacy. She was the last pharaoh, but also perhaps the first truly cosmopolitan ruler. Comfortable in multiple cultures, able to bridge between civilizations. Let that legacy settle into your consciousness now as we prepare to leave this place. Feel the weight of 3,000 years of Egyptian civilization, all carried by this one remarkable woman in its final days. Feel the intelligence and courage it took to stand against the tide of history, to fight for independence when conquest seemed inevitable. As we step back out into the Alexandria afternoon, the light seems kinder. The city glows in the slanting sun. The harbor sparkles with reflected light. Life and beauty continue, regardless of political fortunes, regardless of the rise and fall of dynasties. Walk with me one final time to that palace balcony where Cleopatra stood so often. The view is as breathtaking as it was 30 years ago when she first stood here as pharaoh. The great harbor, the lighthouse, the library, the cosmopolitan city that was home to 500,000 souls from every corner of the known world. This was worth fighting for. This was worth the struggle, the political maneuvering, the alliances and risks and endless vigilance. Not just a kingdom, but a civilization. Not just power, but the preservation of something beautiful and unique in human history. Let the evening breeze wash over you now, warm and gentle, carrying the scent of the sea and lotus flowers. Feel yourself settling deeper into rest, into the peaceful acceptance that comes with understanding. Understanding of Cleopatra's extraordinary life. Understanding of the forces that shaped her world. Understanding of the courage it takes to fight for what you believe in. The sun is setting over Alexandria, painting the sky in those impossible colors that only Egypt seems to produce. Gold and purple and rose, fading to deep blue and then to star-filled darkness. Our journey through Cleopatra's kingdom has been full of peace and admiration. We've walked through marble palaces and sacred temples. We've sailed on ancient waters and stood in the presence of 3,000 years of civilization. Cleopatra's story reminds us that power comes in many forms: intelligence, courage, the wisdom to understand people and cultures different from our own, the ability to adapt without losing yourself, the commitment to something larger than personal survival. Let these lessons settle into your mind now as you drift towards sleep. Let the images of ancient Alexandria, the Great Library, the Temple of Isis, the peaceful waters of the Mediterranean, let them all blend together into a gentle dream that carries you into the deepest rest. Your breathing has slowed and deepened. Your body has released all its tension. Your mind has let go of the day's concerns. You're floating now, like a ship on calm water, like a leaf on the Nile's gentle current. Relax. Rest now, deeply and completely. Let the ancient world fade into the mists of sleep. Let the gentle rhythms we've experienced, waves on shore, oars in water, the eternal flow of the Nile, let them rock you into the most peaceful sleep. I am so grateful for your company tonight, for opening your mind to history, for allowing yourself this gentle journey through time. May your dreams be peaceful. May your sleep be deep and restoring. May you wake refreshed, carrying with you some small piece of the courage and wisdom of Egypt's last and greatest pharaoh. Your dreams will be full of marble halls and starlit waters, of ancient libraries and sacred temples, of a time when one remarkable woman stood against the tide of history and fought with every tool at her disposal, not just for power, but for beauty, for knowledge, for the survival of civilization itself. Rest now. Drift. Sleep.